In the United States, cemeteries began as they had in Europe as graveyards, and most of them were in churchyards or right around churches. And in the 19th century, there began a movement of what became really natural or naturalistic cemeteries, cemeteries that were much more like parks, public spaces for the living and for the dead. And the Missoula Cemetery was one of those rural cemeteries that was created in 1885 by a private entity, the Missoula Land Improvement Company, and it was situated outside of town, outside of the city limits. The first streets in the cemetery were Faith, Hope, and Charity streets. After the 5th century martyrs, Christian martyrs in this case, there was a 4th martyr, Wisdom, and we don't know what happened to Wisdom Street, but perhaps it was in a plan for a later time. At any rate, the cemetery was the first green space in Missoula where the public could actually go and walk around and even picnic. We can see on this map from 1914 two other green spaces, the University of Montana campus and Greeno Park, and those actually happened after the creation of the Missoula Cemetery and its green space. The cemetery became a city cemetery managed by the city of Missoula in 1901. There are nearly 20,000 people buried here in the cemetery, and there's enough space for another, as I understand it, more than 100 years just in the lands that the cemetery board owns and manages right now. The green space that you see here, the park-like circumstance, is part of that tradition of the rural or naturalistic cemetery. And the great examples of those cemeteries come from the East Coast, and I'm sure that one of the efforts in the improvement of this cemetery was to make it look like a civilized place for the burial of people's loved ones.